Alrighty, got another video on this 48 Ford truck. Progress, or I guess lack thereof. Nothing has really gotten done to this in the last few weeks, other than it moved. So things have kind of changed a little bit on the project. I got looking at this chassis more, and these tires and these rims. These are the old Firestone Widowmaker split rims, and they split in half. They don't have a snap ring on them. They actually split in the middle. So this ring right here, it's attached to the inner rim, and this outer rim slides into it. And it's got a little jaw and it locks on it. Little rivets there. That's why where you put your pry bar in and break them down. So kind of super easy to put tires on, but well, they're called Widowmakers for a reason. I think they are technically illegal to mount tires on because they are so dangerous. So in my search, because I think 2 of the tires I have hold air, and they are all just completely unusable. But I got like 8 rims. I got a stack up here. So I've basically got a stack of unusable rims. So in my search for other tires, I actually found a guy selling a complete 53 F600 chassis. Kind of cool thing about this is it's a thicker frame all the way back, and it's got this monster Eaton 2-speed rear end. Now the tires aren't great, but the tires hold air. So at least I have a chassis with 6 tires that hold air, and it's a better chassis, and it's stronger. And if I need anything, I've got 2. Looks like the front is pretty much the same from mine to it. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's something different. So my motor and tranny, and it's the same length frame, my motor and tranny will just end up going in this frame, and then I will use the lift to put, take the body up, roll that frame out, roll the new chassis under with the engine, transmission, driveline already all in it. I might take this rear end out and just hang on to it just in case, that rear end's completely screwed or something. And it's kind of a neat rear end. So I don't know, maybe I'll put it to the side. The frame on this will probably get scrapped. Obviously at some point in its life it has had some modifications. Somebody cut this. So I'm assuming this was just a 9-foot stake bed, and somebody cut and welded on, and it's super thin right there. I mean, technically it's super thin from basically right there back. So I got that other chassis for $400, and I mean, for 6 aired up tires to at least get me by, because with the wheels and tires I had now, I mean, tires and tubes for these rims, if I could even find someone to put them on, it's like $1,500, and they're super dangerous. So that doesn't That's not the road I want to go down with these wheels and tires. But at least with this other one, you know, it'll get me by. I can at least, you know, drive it down the road once I get the brakes all done, and, you know, at least I can go 50 miles an hour. I need to figure out what gear ratio that rear end is. So I guess as far as the shop, this was actually my Uncle Brett's shop. He passed away, well, it's been 2 years now, and his wife Patty kind of held on to it just because sentimental storage for her stuff. It's got a nice lift. Got a couple old cars over there that she stores in here. She has a big camper, but she's storing that somewhere else now, and she's out of town for the winter, so she was nice enough to let me use this while she's gone. So I don't know if I'll work something out with her more permanent, or if I'll just use this for the time being. I guess future projects will kind of determine if this necessitates, you know, using this all the time or not. So there is a surprise on the drivetrain also. So next part, or I'll see you in a minute. All right, like I said, there's some changes to the powertrain, and I ended up picking this up from a local guy for 200 bucks. The main thing I was after was, this is a 5-speed. I am not certain if this is an overdrive or not. This particular transmission came in both varieties. It does have a large shaft PTO on it. It does have the parking brake I've been trying to chase for a while. So that was kind of a double win as far as what I was looking for. And the guy said, well, just take the whole thing for 200 bucks. So this came out of a 1983 F-800 box truck or flatbed. And this is a 370 cubic inch big block industrial motor. 370, most people don't know what that is. It is the same series of engine as the 429 and the 460. It's actually called the 385 series big block according to Ford. The 370 having a unique block to the 429 and 460 due to its 4.05 bore. The 429 and 460 have a 4.39 bore, I believe. So to get a 370, you take the smaller bore of this block and the crank out of the 429, and that's how they came up with these. This one in particular is a 2-barrel, and it's got the, apparently all the industrial engines had center dump manifolds, and they're V-clamp. I guess one of the benefits to a industrial block is they have thicker webbing, so they are heavier cast, so the walls are thicker, everything like that. But as far as interchange, I believe the cranks will swap if you use the industrial timing cover and all that. And the only reason why I talk about parts interchange is my wife's cousin messaged me when I started this project and told me he had a 429 he wants to get rid of that he had sitting in the garage for 20 years. So I'm assuming he was planning on putting this in his 67 Mustang, Just never got around to it. But it's been hot tanked. It's been magnaflexed. The crank was poly gauge rebearing. The rods have new bearings in them. The cylinders. So a pretty pristine 429 right here. It's a 68 car block, I believe. But as far as the industrial having heavier webbing, I don't know. I'll have to do more research, because this webbing right here looks pretty much identical to the depth and thickness of that webbing. So I don't know. Now this 370 has all the provisions for different style motor mounts, but on this particular one, the motor mount is all the way at the front, attached to the timing cover, and then the bell housing mounts right there. And then the tail of the tranny just kind of hangs out. So, all depending on how the internals of this pan out. It's probably going to be a Frankenstein of the two engines combined. I did not get cylinder heads from him because the ones he had were junk, I believe. So he did give me a car bell housing, 2 4-barrel intakes, the original 68 rods. So pretty good score there. But obviously all the little pieces and parts and, timing cover, accessory drive. I'm gonna have to use basically all the external parts on this. And if the heads are in good enough shape, I will use these heads. Obviously, gonna be running a 4-barrel. I do have a 750 CFM double pumper in the basement that I will probably rebuild and put on this, because 600, 650, 700, I don't think it's going to be big enough for 429. But I can do some more research. It all depends what cam I end up going with. And one of the reasons for the change in build was, since I got that heavier frame and that heavier rear end, I'm a lot less worried about breaking anything or twisting the frame or anything like that. So that was another reason. And I also have a guy I know that has a 1960 Ford F-250 four-wheel drive that currently has a semi blown up straight 6 in it. So, I got talking to him about these videos I've been doing, project and stuff like that, and he mentioned he'd be interested in getting a 302 swapped into his truck. So, since I happen to had already gotten a larger frame, before I even talked to him about it, it just all kind of started panning out. I knew I had this 429 I could get. If that transmission ends up not being overdrive, I might get a ZF 5-speed. I don't know. But it just so happened everything I have, this 302, the T19 4-speed, the bell housing, the headers, I have the bolt-in cross members, all of that would be just perfect to swap into that 60. So, with already kind of wanting to go big block on my F4, it was just kind of a perfect storm of change, but hopefully it should be all for the better. Got a monster 5-speed, I don't have to worry about braking, big 13-inch clutch, Big Eaton 2-speed rear end and a big block. I mean, what more could a fat guy ask for, you know? But obviously, sometime this week, hopefully I'll break this all apart, make a video tearing it down. Apparently it hasn't run in 15 years. I don't know. It was stored in a barn. He said he turned it a couple months ago when I got it home. It turned over no problem. So it is not locked up, not stuck, anything like that. So it's all going to determine, you know, where I go with this build is pretty much going to be determined on how the parts come out of this. You know, what interchanges from an industrial to a car block. Since the cranks have the same throw, it sure would be nice to use that industrial crank out of the 370 because they are forged and they have heavier journals. So if I use all the timing set off of that on this block, if it's possible, I need to figure all that out. That would be best, but that's obviously going to be determined on condition of that crank. I know this crank is good. It's been plastic aged, whole new bearings for it. So this crank is good. It is just a factory cast car crank. So I would prefer the forged industrial crank, but like I said, that's all going to play out with the condition. You know, if that pan's got water in it and it all sat and got rusted, or if there's grooves, I don't know. But apparently the truck was parked because the rear end went out. So I think like 0304 it got parked because the rear end went out. And I don't know, the company that had it just got rid of it. One quick little side note on this MP542, it's been rebuilt in '93. It's kind of nice. At least it's not factory 1983. At least it's been gone through. Usually, from what I understand about when Inland rebuilds, they use a little bit nicer product on internals than factory did. So who knows? But yeah, that's just the update for now. Big block. See you on the next one.